Well, we just got back then, running on time for the most part. I think we're going to go ahead and get unloaded. Man, seems like that was a long time coming. What up, gang? It's your boy QDZ Double Easy. Another episode all about semis. How about it there, drivers? Having my morning breakfast. Avocado. Hopefully I'll be getting ready to head back home soon. And get out this truck. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about what I want to talk about. Oh yeah, getting paid under your own authority and factoring and different things like that. So number one, what is factoring? Well, factoring is when you have a company that pretty much fronts you your money. You submit your BOLs to them and they give you the money up front. Now, there's a saying that people say they hear that it could take 30 to 45 days to get paid. And this is true. Just depends on the broker and the agents that you deal with. That's one of the reasons why a lot of guys get factoring, so they don't have to wait to get paid. The pros about having a factoring company is, number one, you get your money up front. Most of the time it's in 24 hours, and in some cases the same day. Most of mine, when I do factor, I usually get them the same day. As long as I get my BOLs in by 12, I'm able to get the money in my account the same day. Now, all factoring companies are not created equal. Some factoring companies want you to have most of them want you to have a 1-year contract. And then some of them have what is called recourse and non-recourse, which basically, I'm not going to go too much into that, but recourse is, for some reason, if your customer or whoever you do the load for doesn't pay, then you're obligated to pay that money back to your factoring company. So you got to kind of go through in the small print and figure that out. Non-recourse is exactly what it sounds like. There's not really, if they don't pay, they just don't pay, and it doesn't affect you. They kind of like eat it. But I can tell you, most of them are going to have some kind of recourse. It's going to be some kind. Which brings me back to the second part of that, is that one of the reasons that you use a factoring company, and when you choose a factoring company, you want to get a factoring company that offers credit checking, because every broker has a credit rating. Now, again, I believe it's 99. It starts at 99 and goes down. So when you start hitting like 80s, that's kind of getting in the bad zone. And usually you can check the agent or broker's credit on your factoring company's app, and that'll tell you if they're good to run the load for. So you can say, you know what, let me check y'all credit before I even run this load, And your factoring company will tell you, yay, do it, or do it at your own risk. Some factoring companies allow you to only factor the loads you want to factor. Now, why is that a benefit? And when I say the loads you want to factor, the brokers or agents, you don't have to factor every load. Like, I don't factor all of my brokers, rather. So, for instance, I factor my C.H. Robinson loads, which I really didn't have to, but I do. But like my Amazon loads, my Uber Freight loads, my Convoy loads, I don't factor those. I let them put that money right in my account when they put it in, because they usually pay either the same day, and I think Amazon is the longest one. They take like a week, but you know, it doesn't bother me. Now, I'll factor new agents that I haven't done business with, just because, you know, I don't want to deal with waiting on them if for some reason they decide to drag their feet. But I'm not going to run the freight for them, because I'm already going to check their credit by the time I run the freight for them. So these are things that you got to take into consideration that will hinder your paying. And then factoring companies also, we're going to talk about the percentages. They all have different percentages that they take. Think of your factoring company as a check cashing place. Your BOLs is your check, and they cash them for you for a percentage. The percentages range across the board, but on average, 1.5% to 2.5% is the going average right now. So that's usually about what they charge you to factor the loads for you. And that's pretty much the gist of factoring. Getting paid can go several ways. If you're not using a factoring company, then what happens is you have to bill every customer. So you have to really take the time out and then print up your invoice on your company letterhead, and then you have to submit the BOLs along with your company letterhead, basically your invoice saying, hey, I ran this to here to there, and you basically, you submit your rate con and all that to directly to the customer, and then they have X amount of time to pay that invoice. And for a lot of people, it's an inconvenience. They don't want to deal with all that, so they opt to factor. Now, the ones that I told you guys I didn't factor, like the Uber Freight and the Amazon, I still don't have to do invoices, because when you do it through their app, both of those brokers have their own app. So when you book a load through their app, they already know what you did. They're tracking you. So you pretty much just do everything through the app. Completed, picked up, and then you submit the BOL, and then they just pay you. It skips out all that other paperwork. But that's a part of choosing the right brokers. Now, these off-brand agents, some of them are old school. You gotta send the BOL and invoice them, which a lot of times is a hassle. But those are the ones that I use my factoring company for, because I don't want to deal with that. And it's such a small percentage that I have to pay that it's not even worth my time. So that's kind of what I do. And that's basically how you get paid. There's no need to wait 45 days or all that, but you can. And one of the benefits of having a factoring company for somebody that's just starting out is that you might not have the capital to run all month without no money coming in. You know, I feel the truck bouncing around, so I'm guessing they're taking the product off. Thank the Lord. So you might not have that capital. A lot of people don't when they start out, you know, or they might have just a small budget that they want to keep maybe for the truck or emergencies. So that factoring company is almost a lifeline, you know, and then you can run the factoring company for the first year, and then the next year you might say, okay, I got X amount of dollars in the bank, I don't need to run that, and I can save that little percentage that I'm paying out if it's worth it to you. But let's say I have a $3,000 load, and I mean, it's going to cost me, you know, literally what, $25-$30 to get my money up front off of $3,000. I'm not going to wait 30 days for that for $20. I mean, I'll blow that in if I buy something to eat on the road, you know, in a couple of days. So you got to kind of balance it out and figure out what makes sense. But that's a lifeline for people that don't have that kind of capital to be running until the checks start coming in. You know, because you can't have the agents or brokers mail you checks too, you know, if you want to do that. And I do know a few guys that say they have some of them mail them checks. But most people that I do know are either getting ACH right to their account, or they're, you know, factoring. So lifeline to have a factoring company when you're just starting out. No need to wait on your money. You're getting paid within a day or so. And the process is kind of simply just like how you guys are doing most of it now for the companies you are working for, speaking to the owner operators and the company drivers, because when you run a load, you got a BOL, and you got to send proof of delivery to your carrier, or the company you leased on. When you do a load, you got to send that paperwork in to your carrier that you're leased onto. So the only difference is now you're submitting that paperwork to your factoring company instead of to a carrier, and the factoring company takes all that information, they look at it, and then they pay you right up front. So that's really the difference. So I hope that shed a little bit of light on how you get paid. The key is in finding the right factoring company, because again, all of them are not created equal, and some of them are ripoffs. So you got to make sure you got the right factoring company and the terms are good. I would never recommend being with one that make you stay more than a year. Some of them will do 6 months, but there's some out there they want you to do 2 years, and that's absurd. And you want to try and pick a factoring company that lets you factor the loads you want, because some of them want you to factor every agent that you sign on to do a load for, and that's crazy. I might not want to factor all my customers. So you want to make sure that the factoring company offers that you don't have to do that. And a lot of times they do, because you don't have to tell them. Like you can just say, hey, I want to factor. Well, this is a little different video, but that comes in when you're setting up carrier packets with your agents and your brokers. And I will do a video probably next week on carrier packets, which kind of you'll see what I mean by when you're setting all that up. You have to submit your factoring company when you're setting up your carrier packet. So for a quick just analogy on that, since I still run loads, like again since I run loads for let's say who is it? I was thinking of one I had on top of my head. I want to say Coyote Logistics, Landstar that I've run for. When I set up to be a certified carrier for them, I have to send my authority certificate, my insurance. I submit my bank information or factoring company at the time of sign up. So when I sign up with them, they already know how I'm going to be paid. They already know that they're going to pay directly to my factoring company, and you need what's called an NOA, which is a notice of assignment to your factoring company. So that's, like I said, that's just a quick brief on that, and I hope that clarifies some things. That was by viewer request, so there it is.